Back to Bachelor Happy Hour. I'm Joe.
And I'm Serena.
And we are here with the one and only Dale Moss. Dale, welcome to Bachelor Happy Hour.
Hey, I appreciate y'all having me on. It's definitely been a while since I've been on Bachelor Happy Hour, so this is fun.
Yeah, what would that? So you would have been on Bachelor Happy Hour during COVID, right? Like 2020?
2.5 years ago? No,
yeah,
4.5.
2.5.
4.5 years ago. It's crazy. Like time flies. Obviously, there's so much life that has happened since then. But it's been a minute.
Yeah. So for our listeners, if you don't recall Dale, he was on Claire's season, got engaged, didn't work out, but now he is back. Dale, going all the way back then, how did you get on the show in the first place, The Bachelorette?
Yeah, so I was nominated by someone who's like a little sister to me in New York. I had never watched the show before, and she said that you're traveling all the time. All you're doing is working or on the road, but I never see you dating anyone. And before that, I had been in a long-term relationship of 4 years with a great woman. And honestly, like there was almost 3 years I didn't date anyone. I wasn't on the apps. I've never been really a big dater. So she nominated me, and I told her, I was like, I'm not doing that. And then she was like, no, you got to see it through. And I was like, look, I'll take the interviews if they call, and then I'll go through the process, and then we'll just go from there. I got a call when I was in San Diego visiting my family, and that was kind of the start of it. And fast forward. I think I committed really late because it was just, a big decision for me. But, I loved the experience. It was something that was completely out of left field for me at the time. But kind of like this time, it's just I was doing a lot of really great things in my life, and I just wanted to give up control and just try a new experience. So, that's kind of how it happened.
Nice.
Yours was the season that was supposed to start filming, and then the pandemic hit and it got pushed, right?
Yeah. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. So we were actually on set about to do Arrivals. And when right before Arrivals is when everything shut down, the entire world shut down. So and that was in March. And so at that time, the cast had been announced, like everyone kind of knew who could possibly be on. And I think we started filming in July. So you think about that whole gap that was in between. So it was a really unique experience. And we were just in a completely different world. It's hard to even recall the pandemic. For me at times, there's so many things I forget about it. But it was just a different time.
Yeah, I'm actually like, I was thinking of it the other day, and I can't believe like it's been 5 years. Like we're going to be like, before you know it, it's going to be like, oh, that was 10 years ago.
Yeah, it does feel crazy. It feels like, such a crazy time. I can't even imagine, because I was on the other pandemic season, but we obviously filmed second. So they kind of like had their bearings by the time they got to us. But yeah, because it was like Matt James was supposed to be on your season as a contestant. The shutdown happened. They made him the Bachelor.
And they were in Palm Springs. Imagine how hot it was. You know how hot Palm Springs is in July?
It was cooking. And like, I had never been on a reality TV series before. The production's going into it. It's completely new for them. We're in a bubble. At the time, like a lot of us didn't know what was going on with our families. And, this was right in the heat of things. Like I know my sister, for example, she has an autoimmune disease. So like she was isolated for months and months and months. And even when I got done filming, I couldn't see her for an extended period of time. So, just the pressures and the things that people were dealing with, it was a lot. But I do remember it was a relief kind of being in that bubble, because you had no choice but to still just be present. And there were things going on in the outside world that you knew. But it was almost an escape. I think a lot more than most people probably realize. And I love that aspect of it. It's one of the things I love, just being disconnected from my phone, no interruptions. And, full transparency, that's one of the things I miss already from this experience.
Yeah, I agree. That was the number one thing for me. It was like, I enjoyed going to Paradise because I loved giving my phone away and just being like in the moment. And that's like, not having your phone is almost like it's truly a vacation, even though like Paradise isn't a vacation, but it feels like one. Dale, how long did you play in the NFL for?
So I was in the league for 4 years, and I bounced around. I was a college basketball and football player, got a shot starting off with the Green Bay Packers, and I finished my last 3 years with the Chicago Bears. And competing is always something that, I really loved. I had a shot to play in the league. It wasn't glorious. I had some injuries, was on practice squads and bounced around and things like that. But again, it was, one of the best times of my life. And I grew a lot from it, but it was also, a big transition phase, because once I was done, I really had to pivot like so many athletes do. And that's what brought me out to New York and got me started in the fashion, wellness, and entertainment industry.
So you are in the entertainment wellness space. Can you kind of give us a little bit of a breakdown of how that works?
Yeah. So I went to school for film, and I always wanted to direct and produce. And before The Bachelorette, and still now, I was hosting during the NFL seasons. I've hosted in studios covering a lot of the NFL games. But a lot of my focus has shifted behind the scenes. I've got 2 sports documentaries in development with my production company. And then I produce large-scale wellness experiences all across the globe. That's been a passion of mine, the community aspect. And it's just something that is a pillar in my life. And then behind the scenes, the venture world. I've gained equity or invested in a lot of different companies, starting my own venture group now, which I'm really excited about. And, so there's like the front facing stuff, but I've always said, I'd rather build more wealth and different things behind the scenes just so I could live comfortably, just provide for my family, which is something, we struggled growing up. And I just always said that with my wife, kids, even my family now, I just don't want them to worry about too much. So the entrepreneurial side, especially in the venture world right now, is a big thing. But, hosting and the sports documentaries are a major thing as well.
Nice. I went to this spot right here in Austin. Have you heard of it? Coffee and Chill.
Yo, they have blown up. So their model it's so impressive.
Really, really. It was great. Like I was like, this was it's like a sober event. They have cold plunges. Like it's great. It's a great way to get rid of a hangover, to be honest.
You think about it, right? People, like I've always admired people doing things to better themselves, whether that's working out, if that's just, some of the cold plunge and things like that, because people are in an uncomfortable state. And it's not always easy to, give that extra effort. But through sports and, coming up in the fitness and the wellness industry in New York City, I just realized like that gave me my start, and it gave me something to look forward to after sports. And I've always said that regardless of what I do, the wellness pillar is going to be a major thing for me.
Nice.
So that's kind of what you've been doing on the career side. What has dating been like over the last few years?
So I was in a long-term relationship, 2.5 years. And
this is post Claire, correct?
Yeah, this is post. Okay. And that was the only like real relationship I had been in. And I had a great relationship. We're on really great terms. And it's one of those things. I feel like everyone always thinks stuff is like black and white, right? But the reality is there's so many things that make a relationship work. And sometimes it's timing, sometimes it's priorities. And that was like a really, really great chapter of my life. One that I don't talk about a lot, just because I think like relationships, even though we're on reality TV, are something that, I don't think all the intimate details are needed to share with everyone. I think that's a protective barrier, but that was really it, and since that,
she was the one that she's like in the home improvement space, right? Didn't she like live in Florida? I think you were, when I saw you in Miami, I think you were still dating her at the time.
Yeah. And she's unbelievably talented, going to have all the success in the world. And she's someone I definitely root for, But, there's times where things just don't work out. And I think it was the right decision for both of us, at the time. And I know from a distance, we still really support each other. But I think that's just also something as you get older, right? You realize that, sometimes things don't work out. And but is definitely a relationship I grew from, probably more than any relationship.
Going on.
Respected degree, I'd have to go to a big state.
Tucker Carlson can't.
To fight disinformation.
Podcast will kill you. We cover everything from the biology of death.
Their skin.
It's just
happen. Learn more at jpmorganchase.com/impact.
Again.
Yeah, I think in this.
Now we're heading back onto the your dating pattern's kind of interesting because you have, your 4-year relationship, the relationship from the show that was very public, and then you went to another long-term, very private relationship, and now we're heading back onto the show. Like, how do you feel after coming out of a 2.5-year relationship that you had a lot of control over how much was shared and how much wasn't, to go back on reality TV and date very publicly again?
Yeah, I think in this setting, like, people see the build, right, and the start of a relationship, and then from there you can choose to share as much as you want. But I've realized over the years, and this is a big moment of growth for me, like, I shut down after relationships, and I just dive into work. I travel, and I'm 36 years old, and I know what I want in a relationship. And I know the things that I want out of life, but the reality is I'm never going to have those if I don't put myself out there and try new things. And this was like a really big thing for me. It was not on my radar. I was very reluctant to commit to this, and it's something that I committed to, honestly, last minute. And the only reason I was able to is one, because I felt like I had moved through the previous relationship in a healthy way. And honestly, I'm just happy with who I am. I feel very secure in life and the things that I'm doing. And while, the show is not a normal, it's not a normal environment where you meet someone, it definitely forces you to put yourself out there. And there's no hiding or like shutting down when you're on something like this. And for me, that was a major thing.
You mentioned you're 36. I was like 34 or 35 when I went back on Paradise the second time. Were you worried at all about feeling like the old guy on the beach, basically?
Well, the good thing is you got the Goldens there. So
yeah, that's true. But I mean, I was your age, so that was like, and I ended up getting engaged to someone who is 11 years younger than me. At the time, I didn't really think much about it, but like looking back, being in your position, what do you think?
Yeah, it was something that, I did ask the question. I was like, am I too old for this? But that wasn't really much of a sticker. Like, in my previous relationships, many of them were with someone who was older than me. I also feel like just with lifestyles and different things, you're going to meet people from all walks of life. So that wasn't really a pressing thing. And also, I think if anything, I was going to be more clear on what I wanted and what worked for me and what didn't. And I think, whatever people see on the show, and there's, clips or edits and all that, but I was really happy with how I showed up. I didn't feel pressured in any way, shape, or form. Going on the show, I was fully prepared to leave at any given point if there was someone there who I wasn't connecting with. And I think those are important things. And the reality is, like, just going on there and being open and not having any preconceived notions was the biggest thing for me. And I didn't know anybody on the show, and after my season, while I have like friends in the franchise that I've met around the way, like I've been kind of out of the loop. So it was a completely new experience for me. And I think just on the personal side, it was just a big thing, opening up and just letting go and just trusting, like, however you show up, that's going to be enough. And, not to sound cliche, but I think a lot of people, no matter how secure they are, have those insecurities. Like, am I going to be enough? Is what I'm bringing to the table going to be enough? Or is someone going to accept that? I love the experience. One of the best experiences of my life.
I think people's biggest question when they see that you're going on Bachelor in Paradise is going to be, what was the draw to go back to the Bachelor franchise after kind of this period of you being so removed from it?
And you didn't really get, I would say, like, you didn't really get the true Bachelor experience.
No, you had a very unconventional time on the show.
Yeah, like you were there for a very short period of time. You were on a COVID season, so it was definitely different.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have the normal experience, and people didn't really get to learn anything about me. For me, the biggest thing was letting go. I'm very happy with where things are at in my life right now, but I also am in this pattern of I'm experiencing some of the coolest things in my life, traveling the globe and doing all these things. But I find myself all the time like, how much does this matter? Because I can't share this with somebody, and there's my business partners and my friends, but, I think a relationship is the most sacred and the most beautiful thing when you have the right one and when you have a healthy one. Also, like, I just wanted to give up control. I know that I get in these cycles where when I finally bring my head up for water, it's like a year and a half has gone by. And, I just didn't want to, just keep maybe avoiding, a relationship, especially after a previous one. And then honestly, I was excited for people to actually get to know me and see me like navigate this in a truthful and an honest and a fun way. So again, the commitment came, really late in the game. But it was entirely just for me, just like a liberating and free experience, and just to step on the beach and just experience something new.
Going into Paradise, what are you looking for in a relationship? And like, are there any deal breakers as far as like, you live in New York, she lives in Wyoming?
Yeah. So the distance thing is not as big of a deal for me. It never has been. Fortunately, I can make my schedule kind of as need be. In previous relationships, I was spending more time with my partner than I was in New York City, even though we would be, across the country or, hours away. So that's not as big of a thing, but I do think I'm drawn to someone who works hard, who has a career. And I think the reason that is because then they can understand my focus and my hustle and my drive. And I love supporting people, right? And yeah, I love supporting my family. I love supporting someone, in the relationship side. I'm a pretty chill dude. I think just throughout life and just experiencing a lot of things, I've got a pretty big threshold. I've got a high level of tolerance and patience. And, we're human, and that's, we're not perfect, but I don't do well with a lot of chaos. I think family dynamic is important, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but just that it matters. And I think the biggest thing in my life now is like crossover, right? I want to have crossover with my partner. I don't want to be living two separate lives. But from there, it's just someone who's got a kind heart, and I think is just understanding and patient is the real thing.
Are you a workaholic?
I'm not a workaholic by any means. I definitely take time to relax, if I'm not in a relationship, my relationship is always priority. I build my work and a lot of the things around my relationships. In previous ones, there was never an issue where we didn't get to spend time together. But when I haven't been, I fill my time with the things that I'm passionate about, and that drive me. I love everything that I do. I don't feel obligated or pressured to do things. And, I've worked hard to get in that position, but no, my relationship is always a priority. And there will be a lot of pressures that we have in life, and, they won't always be even, but it's always going to balance out. But the relationship, for me, especially at this stage, it's always going to be the priority.
You seem like you need to keep busy, though. That's the type that
natural. Like since the time I was a kid, like I'm go, 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 go.
Yeah, I got to
I'm
like that as well. That's kind of how I'm reading it from you. But like you definitely are giving off like you need to be constantly like you're not doing nothing today. Like you definitely have a full schedule after this. You know,
the biggest place that comes from is definitely like when I was younger. You know, my dad was not always in the picture. He struggled with some drug and alcohol addictions, was in and out of jail and prison different times throughout his life. And, you know, he has changed his life. We talk about this all the time. Like these are things that, you know, we'll share openly, and it's just a part of our chapter. But my mom had to carry that load, you know, very heavily. And so as a family, I remember being in middle school working and helping my mom pay the bills, even though I was just like a basic check. And the same thing in high school. And then my sister, like we always had jobs. We paid our own cell phone bills. Like, and in college, I was playing 2 Division I sports and I was bartending at night, even though I was on a full ride scholarship. You know, my mom had some health issues and my sister was, you know, in high school and my mom couldn't work that much. So I've always had this sense of, like, if I didn't execute or if I didn't succeed, my family would fall apart. And, you know, I've realized over a period of time, I don't have to carry that burden anymore, right? And I think, like, that just comes with time. That just comes with growth. And also just knowing that, you know, my family, like, they're gonna handle their business. They're going to get through. And, like, you know, you can't solve all the problems for everybody. But right now, I'm just in a phase of my life where I feel like for the first time since sports, like I'm so clear and I'm so excited about the things that I'm doing. But the beautiful thing about it is I'm not controlled by a schedule or an opportunity or a job situation. But I'm able to kind of create this life where everything can all weave together. But I like to go. That's the difference is I'm being drawn to things now in a lot different way because I'm excited. I don't feel like I'm chasing it. I'm like running towards something, you know?
You're able to do what you want to do.
Yeah. So, nice. But I definitely grind and I still hold on to that. Like I want to build a foundation right now for my wife, my kids, my family. Like money isn't everything, but I do want to live like a life where we never have to think about going out to eat anywhere. If we want to travel, we can do that because those are the things that I never experienced. And I feel if you have a healthy relationship and you have those resources, like, you know, I just saw like money issues were a big thing growing up for me that I felt like caused a lot more issues than they needed to. So I'm not controlled or consumed by it. I just think like, you know, I want my family to be secure so we can just enjoy life, you know, in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Were you, when the cast, you know, you get down there day one, you said you didn't know anyone that was going to be there?
I literally walked on the beach. I didn't know a single person. And then conversations, people are like, oh, do you know this person, this person? I was like, I don't know who that is. Like, and it wasn't a bad thing. It's just, you know, I had my experience on The Bachelorette and, you know, I have friends that I've met, but I think sometimes like I get so hot, like head down or it's like kind of, it just wasn't a chapter of my life after the fact. So, and not in a bad way. I was just, you know, just kind of marching to the beat of my own drum. But, you know, I think it was a good thing that I went in with no preconceived notions that I didn't know anyone. And I honestly loved it. Because I was meeting every single person for the first time, exactly how I saw them. And, you know, they're like so much love for everyone down there. Like I had such a good time and like so many just great people.
Did you get any advice from anyone before you went down?
I was talking to a few friends and they were literally just, well, it was private. No one knew I was going on. Like, so I knew people who had gone on before. And the number one thing was just like have fun and be yourself. But but no one knew I was going on. Obviously there's confidentiality and everything, but I didn't even make the decision, like the final decision, until 4 or 5 days before we had to be there.
Oh,
So
wow.
Nice.
yeah. So, and, you know, I felt really comfortable with the idea of a new production team. This was going to be an entirely new Bachelor in Paradise. And I think that's one of the biggest things for me, why I was willing to do it. Right. I think, you know, a fresh take, and it was just something fresh and new. So like everyone was going to get a new experience. And I think that is something that is so cool, because if someone had been on Paradise before and they might not have had the best experience, that's like all wiped out. So you're walking into this fresh slate. And I was going to show up as I am, like, you know, regardless. But I think that the number one thing is always just like be yourself, but have fun. Like, don't be afraid of like being too polished or this or that. Just be yourself and have fun. And that's what I did.
Paradise is definitely an easier setting to allow yourself to be yourself, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
It's way more chill, way more laid back. You're on a beach and you could really, like, after a few days, like I really struggled day one, my second time in Paradise. Wow, your eyes really fucking lit up there. I really struggled day one because in my head, I definitely was, I felt like, you know, like I felt like the college kid back at like the high school party. I was like, what am I doing back here? Like, why did I come back? Did you have any of those feelings when you actually got to the beach of like, did I make a mistake? Because now I'm kind of like, I'm here. Or like
when I was walking on the beach, this is before I even talked to anyone. There's that moment of, it's like kind of hits you. You're like, damn,
I'm doing
I
this
made the right decision. Right. Yeah. And then people would make jokes like, cause I was a little older or whatever, but it was truly like all love. And I think the hardest thing for me, and I knew this going in, like the idea that you have to like, it's almost like a speed dating a little bit, right? Or just getting to know people, and the time moves so fast and all of these things. And that for me is so out of my norm. Like I've never been on a dating app. Like I said, I'm not a big dater. I have a lot of friends who, you know, are women, and we like never crossed the line. And I'm just like, I don't know. Like I've never, like even the idea of like when people date multiple people, like that is so foreign to me. So that was the biggest challenge. And kind of how I got through that, I was just like, hey, you're getting to know people. Everyone signed up for the same thing. If anything, people were more comfortable than me because they'd been through it or were, you know, understood the lay of the land more. And I was just like, you know, just be very, very clear. Even if it's not always the easiest to be that way. And I always said, like, I don't like there to be gray area. And I didn't want to leave a lot for interpretation. So as long as you like stand on that, like you're going to be good. So that was the biggest difficulty, but it, you know, you get in the moment and everyone's kind of there for the same thing. And at the end of the day too, it's like, if you're trying to find something, you got to put yourself out there. And that's a big thing why I went on the beach, because, you know, that's something that's not always the easiest for me.
Yeah.
When the cast was announced, what was the reaction you were getting from people in your life, people that follow you on social media?
Yeah.
Because you were definitely the biggest, I would say.
Like shocker name.
I mean,
sure.
Yeah.
You know, like from whatever experience before, a lot of people are gonna, you know, they look at social media and news and stuff that happened so long ago. So you'll get some negative thing. They're like, "Oh, I can't believe Dale's back." Like this and that.
People are so mean.
Aren't they?
And
like
the funny thing about that is, I was more concerned about what I had to lose going on a show than anything that I would have to gain. Right. And I had a career well before my first time on the Bachelorette and everything like that. But, you know, so there's some of those things that you get, but like, honestly, most people were positive. And I think sometimes when you get noise, you know, some of the negative or the, you know,
they stand out.
It stands out and you have so much positive. But I also know that throughout Bachelor Nation, like I've had so much positive feedback from people, and a lot of people were excited, and I think also there's so much time that has passed. They're just curious to see how things unfold, and like so there was a little bit of worry, like I was just going to get like trashed on. Not that it affects me, but it's like, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
The reality is like things were positive, and I don't know, and I guess it just all unfolds on screen, so we'll see.
Nice.
Can you tease a little bit of the season for us, or give us any little detail?
I mean, this is a new Bachelor in Paradise. I can't go into details, obviously, but I will say a lot of people had questions about the Golden twist.
Mm-hmm. We just saw the cast for Golden was announced.
It was so amazing to have them there. And I think everyone was a little bit like, hey, how's this going to work out? It added to the experience. It brought energy. People were extremely excited. And honestly, it gave people a lot more guidance and direction when they were navigating relationships, because they've been through everything you can think of in life. I think because they were there was more depth on the show. And like, they're not trying to impress anybody, right? Like, they don't care about a lot of things, like the social media aspect or whatever. Like, most of them, they use it, but they've lived a life in full. So I think people are really, really going to enjoy that addition. And for me, that was one of the most amazing things about it throughout. And I utilized the Goldens early on for just guidance. And I think that's the best thing that they provided. And they had a lot of fun.
Well, we are really looking forward to watching you on this show. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see the new format. It was really great talking to you. I'm sure we'll see you around the city. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I think everyone's going to be really excited with what comes out. And I know from the start, the cast was stoked. And yeah, it's a completely new paradise. That's for sure.
Yeah, cool. We can't wait.
And to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you download and subscribe to Bachelor Happy Hour.
Thank you so much for listening. We have new and exclusive interviews coming your way. Bye.